I think my parents and my grandmother really encouraged it. You know, they saw that it was an interest. My mom took me to classes at the art center in Toledo where I lived until 6th grade. And then I continued with art through high school. My high school art teacher was very, very passionate about art and very encouraging, and ultimately proposed that, you know, going to art school was a valid option. So I guess it has been a lot of encouragement from others that have really kind of let me kind of shown the way and shown me that it's a viable option for profession. It's kind of like you don't expect to walk into this nice studio. A good studio space that's warm in the winter is hard to find in this town, so I've been very lucky. For the last 20 years, I've pretty much been working on my own as a fine artist, and now I'm currently working on my master's. I'm studying at the Art Institute of Boston. It's a low residency program, so I go there 2 times a year for short, intensive residencies, and I do all my studio work and academic work here in Grand Rapids. I picked Boston because I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I wanted to get feedback from elsewhere. I find more and more that who you are greatly influences your work and why you do something. The great thing about a master's program is you really get to kind of delve into why you do everything. You have to verbalize why you make certain decisions in a painting. You have to kind of put your work in context with contemporary art. And so it's a very kind of self-introspective kind of time period. I usually have a pretty strong idea of what I'm setting out to do, and as of late I work from photographs. And I do that so I have realistic kind of visual cues. I'm really inspired by design. I read a lot of the design magazines, furniture, lighting, contemporary furniture, as well as mid-century modern design. So one of the issues that I've been trying to work with lately is this idea of incompleteness. I'm very much an artist who the finished product is very tight and fully realized. And so I like this idea of having a painting that's not quite finished or that has these portholes. And so the technique that I've been employing to kind of stress this incompleteness is using masking materials. And I'll actually put a plastic over the paper or the canvas, and I'll paint the whole painting, and then I'll pull off the masked area and leave what I see as kind of a hole in the composition. And I've been playing around with white versus black spaces. This here is a piece with just the white canvas showing through. And so it creates this kind of figure that you're looking into that I find very interesting. I kind of see the objects as becoming the figurative element in the work. There's a conversation that's created by all the objects that are depicted. So I see them as maybe two figures here relating to this other object, whether it be another figure or what. So if you put one object in a painting, it's just talking about that one object, but when you add 2 or 3, then there's a relationship that starts. And so that kind of communication, that relationship between the objects is automatically created. Well, I'm always finding new things. I just have been playing around with silk screening. And so that's something that is a good example of a new kind of area that I've moved into. Silk screening is taking a frame that has actual silk stretched across it And either using photo emulsion or drawing fluid, you paint right on the screen, and you either develop it or in the drawing fluid case, you use a blackout material. And the material you paint with washes out with water. So what you're left with is kind of a positive. Drag ink across, and it will go through the silk onto paper, t-shirts. I've done it on clay. It's a very versatile material. So these are done on paper. Each color has its own silk screen, and then they're kind of lined up and run as what's called an addition. Yeah, it captures kind of my drawing. It's a little different than my painting style. It's more like, they become more like drawings. I like evolving. I like trying new techniques. I actually want to try some of this silk screening technique on some of the painting or the paper or canvas, and then painting on top. So, so one thing always leads to another thing, and that's the great thing about art. You know, it just, you know, it's endless, the combinations. I've started doing some mid-century modern ceramic models. These are the first 5. Kind of just taking archetypal modern architecture inspired by my trips to Palm Springs, and trying to create them in 3D instead of just painting them two-dimensionally. I took my first clay class in college and really fell in love with the material. It's really rewarding. It's something that takes up space instead of just something that sits on the wall. So, so yeah, there's something really rewarding about making something that has volume. So these are kind of inspired by a lot of my still life, my botanical kind of interest, my, you know, that kind of desert, you know, kind of plant life, that real sculptural plant life, and kind of bringing those to life in 3D form. Going out and experiencing art is probably the best way to educate people, just seeing vast amount of art. I mean, that's what I've done my whole life. I've gone to art history classes, I've, you know, studied, read about what's gone before. And so we kind of need to find a way to speed that up to the general public. I'll take her to work. I'm like, isn't this a little overkill? But she's funny. She just doesn't have that exploration thing. So yeah, they said the papers come in. I said, well, we don't have anything else. So they said, we have a couple years later. So they're doing an article. So,
cool. I saw all the cars over there. And I wondered.
Yeah.
Did you guys quality patch all this? Was that done before you left? That's awesome. I like it.
Just because in the winter,
oh yeah,
the snow is just kind of coming in yet. It's not very attractive.
effective. I was just blame it on the industrial owners before.
All right, thanks, Sandy.
Cool.